Hello. Uh, I did a video yesterday about the Fluska X Murder House, and I want, especially from this book, Unsolved Murders, and I'm gonna read another story, and it's called Hollywood's Whodonits, and it's a case of William Desmond Taylor murder of 1922. The name William Desmond Taylor is no longer familiar to modern moviegoers, but in the 1910s and 20s, he was a prolific director whose name routinely appeared in gossip columns alongside that of one beautiful actress or another. He worked with legends of the silent film era. If any uh, like people who are taking film class would learn about like the silent film era in of its black and white, and like the actor or the actress would say something but you can't hear it, and then words pop up, and then next scene, literally. That was basically the silent film era. uh, Mary Pickford, Myrtle Stedman, and Wallace Reed, and lived in stylish bungalow in a sought after Los Angeles movie colony neighborhood. To his Hollywood friends, William Desmond Taylor seemed to have it made. Since was the case until the morning hours of February 2nd, 1922, when Taylor's valet and cook, Henry Pevet, found his lifeless body laying face up on the floor of his study. Pevet ran screaming from the bungalow into the apartment building's courtyard. At first, it appeared that the 49-year-old director must have succumbed to natural causes. A neighbor, the actor Douglas MacLean, rushed to William's home as soon as he heard Pevet's cries. He recalled he was lying flat on his back, his feet separated a little, his hands were at his side, perfectly flat on his back. I said to Miss MacLean later on, he looked just like a dummy in a department store, or perfect in immaculate. Movie mogul Alfred Sukor, president of famous players Lasky, Hollywood's premier studio, was desperate to hush up the potential scandal of Taylor's death. The movie industry had recently suffered several blows to its reputation, in particular, the rape and murder charges against comedy star Roscoe Fatty Archambault, whose third trial loomed as Taylor lay dead. Before the police arrived, Sukar sent employees around to Taylor's house to remove any bootleg liquor or compromising material. They also told Peve to clean up the crime scene. 19, especially during the 1920s, back then, we were in the Great Depression. Our president back then outlawed alcohol. You know where the people of the United States had to party back then? Especially in the 1920s? Speakeasies. Literally. Speakeasies. Before that law got taken out and alcohol was back. Literally. And then later on, after the 20s, was World War II. Well, we were out of it, But Japan decided to be a dick and wake a fucking monster. That monster was the U.S. Now back to the story. As soon as the police turned to the dead man over, it was obvious that Tyler did not die a natural death. He was laying in a pool of blood with a bullet wound in his back. From the angle of the wound, the gun had probably been fired by someone standing just over 5 foot tall. 5 feet tall. Possibly while embracing Taylor, robbery was clearly not a motive. Taylor still had 78 bucks in his pocket. Well, mainly his wallet. Sorry, it's gonna be a long-ass story for you guys. William Desmond Taylor's murder would have become one of Hollywood's darkest legends. With every twist and turn of the investigation lapped up by the press, gossip peddlers could not have wished for better material. Reporters working for the New York Daily News even kidnapped Pevy and tried to trick him into confessing to the murder. Unfortunately for actress Mabel Norman, the police inevitably, dyslexic, it's hard for me to read bigger and harder words. First step was to suspect whoever last saw the victim. Considered one of the top comedians of the era, Mabel had huge, expensive eyes and dark hair, cropped flapper style. Yeah, especially in the 1920s. Hey, Daisy, no, come here. Come on. Yeah, sorry about that. That's my cat. She worked alongside such stars as Charlie Chaplin and Harold Lloyd, as well as Fatty Arbuckle. By 1922, she was working for Goldwyn Studios for about $1,000 a week, the equivalent of nearly $15,000 today. She also had a drug and drinking problem. Coincidentally, perhaps Taylor was famously on a crusade to rid Hollywood of drugs. Norman denied knowing anything about the murder, claiming that her visits... Knock it off. Sorry about that. My cat likes to mess with things. Denied anything about the murder, claiming that her visit was completely innocent. Taylor had bought her a book and called her to pick it up. She arrived between 7 and 7:15 p.m. They talked about literature and theater, and then after about a half an hour together, he walked her to the car and they waved goodbye. Please tell the public that I know nothing about this terrible happening and that Mr. Tyler and I did not quarrel, she said in a press statement. After being reportedly questioned, Mabel Norman was dismissed as an official suspect, though a cloud of suspicion remained over her. A lock with Mabel's picture, an inscription to "My Dearest," was found in Taylor's belongings in 1930 interview. The Los Angeles Record. Pevy claimed that Mabel Norman was Taylor's murderer, though his allegations have never been sustained. As recently as 1990, author Robert Gorix put forth a theory that William's determination to help Mabel beat a cocaine addiction angered her drug dealers, and so they killed him in revenge. Such newspapers mention of William Desmond Taylor in the months leading up to his death, in nearly every story, including the name of 19-year-old up-and-coming actress Mary Miles Minter. Born Juliet Riley in 1902 in Shreveport, Louisiana, Mary was a doe-eyed beauty in the mold of Mary Pickford, though 10 years younger. Taylor had directed Mary in the 1990 silent film Anne of Green Gables, in which she played the title role, and he was known to be invested in her career. After his death, investigators found love letters from Mary among Taylor's effects. The notes were written in a Staley code known to thousands of youngsters. Well, one read, "I put something soft and flowy. I'd wake up to find two strong arms and two dear lips pressed on mine in a long, sweet kiss." This implied a far more intimate relationship than even Taylor's closest friends had realized. While Mary's mother tried to downplay her daughter's passionate declarations, saying that Mary loved Taylor as a child would love her father. Mary referred to him as the love of her life and loved him deeply with all the admiration and respect a young girl gives to a man with his poise and culture. Mind you, she is young at this point. Like, young. 19, still young. Like late teens, early 20s. Reporters latched onto Mary's romantic revelations, painting her as both vaginal and a temptress, a young woman who mistook Taylor's kindness as something more. Mary herself said that she and Taylor had been engaged to be married, a claim that was never corroborated. No evidence surfaced that he ever returned Mary's love. A pink nightgown found in Taylor's home was reportedly to have Mary's initials on it. However, this was discredited. Rumors persisted that Taylor was in fact gay or bisexual. One typical Lord story in the New York Daily News reported that Taylor engaged in unmanly rituals as part of an opium cult. Charles Heineman's 2004 book on the Taylor case, Murder in Hollywood, Solving a Screen Mystery, cited that the art director, George James Hopkins, who went on to have a bestseller Hollywood career, was in a relationship with Tyler when he was killed. Tyler and Mary Miles Minter's secret relationship was enough to warrant investigation. The fact that she had no alibi and that police believed three long blonde hairs found on Tyler's jacket were hers helped to ensure her name would be forever linked to the case. In 1937, 15 years after the murder, police made it her mother, and her sister, claiming they had uncovered new evidence. Mary publicly demanded that the authorities should either clear her name or try her for murder. Neither one ever happened. Charles Heineman has suggested that Mary was jealous of Taylor's affair with other women and men, and that on the night of the killing, Mary turned up at William's home with a gun and threatened to kill herself if he would not return her love. He calmed her down, but she was still holding the gun as they embraced and accidentally shot him. As quickly as Mary Miles Minter's name hit the headlines as a possible suspect, so too did her mother's. Charlotte Shelby had been a Shakespearean actress, literally Shakespearean, who had appeared on Broadway in at least one production, but her career faltered while she raised her two daughters, Mary and Margaret. By some account, there was no love lost between Charlotte and William Desmond Taylor. Charlotte's former secretary told the district attorney attached to the case that she heard Charlotte tell Taylor, "If I ever see you hanging around my Mary again, I'll blow your goddamn brains out." Really? This is why this case remained unsolved. On the surface, it seemed ludicrous to think Charlotte would want Tyler dead. He was, after all, shepherding her daughter's career and thus helping the whole family financially. Some commenters posed that Charlotte was merely a protective mother trying to shield her young daughter from a man nearly 3 times her age. Mary herself rebuffed that motion. Mother's action over Mr. Tyler's attentions to me were not inspired by a desire to protect me from him. She was really trying to shove me into the background so that she could monopolize his attention and, if possible, his love. Even more damning were comments in court testimony provided by Charlotte's elder daughter, Margaret. According to her, neither Mary nor Charlotte was home between 7 and 9 p.m. on the night of the murder. Mary eventually arrived in a hysterical condition, while Charlotte did not come home at all. I knew she was out all day and night hunting for certain men to learn Mary's whereabouts. She later came in and told us that Tyler had died. Margaret told the police that her mother had tossed the gun into a river in Kansas City soon after. Charlotte had Margaret committed in a psychiatric ward. Beyond the daughter's incriminating statements concerning Charlotte's possible role in Tyler's death, police uncovered convincing circumstantial evidence against the matriarch. She allegedly owned both of the type of gun and the rare soft round ammunition used in the killing. While this was not enough to convict a grand jury, it convinced Ed King, one of the lead investigators on the case, who went to his grave believing Charlotte Shelby got away with murder. Yeah, I'm starting to believe that it was Charlotte. The list of suspects did not end with Charlotte Shelby. Suspicion also surrounds the dead man's chauffeur as well as his own brother. The roots in theory lie in Taylor's early life, one he abandoned 14 years before his murder. Tyler was born in 1872, not as William Desmond Tyler, but landowner and the grandson, but William Channingham Dean Tanner, the eldest son of a wealthy landowner and the grandson of a member of Parliament. William grew up in Mallow, Ireland, with a younger brother named Dennis Gaze Dean Tanner. William longed to become an actor and disappointed his family by refusing to join the army, joining a theatre group in Manchester instead. He bounced around the UK and then Canada before landing in New York, where Dennis joined him. The two opened an antique shop on Fifth Avenue. In 1901, at the age of 29, William married Ethel Harrison, the niece of a real estate tycoon, and the couple had a daughter named Ethel Daisy. In 1908, William is said to have emptied his bank account and vanished, leaving no foreign address. Ethel only learned that her husband had moved to Hollywood when several years later she and her daughter saw him on the silver screen using a new name. 4 years after William disappeared, so did his brother, Dennis, in similar fashion. His wife said he left the house with that hat and walking stick as though going to work, never to return. Neither his wife nor his 2 small children ever heard from him again. Sometime in 1920, Tyler hired a man named Edward Sands as his chauffeur. A year before his murder, he and Sands had a falling out. Taylor accused Sands of stealing from him and threatened to have him arrested. Sands disappeared shortly before the shooting and was sought by police as a potential suspect. This all serves as a backdrop to one of the most convoluted theories surrounding Tyler's death, that Dennis had assumed the identity of Edward Sands and, after falling out with his more successful brother, had shot him. This theory even made the newspapers, as evidenced by a 1936 Associated Press story that asked, was the Edward Sands, who presumably acted as his valet, really his brother, Dennis? Sick. Dennis' abandoned ex-wife, Ada, tried to clear his name, insisting that the brothers were very much devoted to each other, and providing police with photo documents and handwriting samples. Neither Dennis nor Sands ever resurfaced, however, so the conjure continues. Shortly before his death, Taylor reconnected with his daughter, Ethel. She was subsequently inherited his estate and later told reporters that his letters were filled with mention of Mary Miles Minter. In 1964, 42 years after the elusive killer struck, a woman named Pat Lewis declared on her deathbed that she had killed William. On its own, this confession did not mean much. Police examined the case and carried around 300 confessions within the first 6 weeks of the investigation. But a family friend did some digging and found there was perhaps something to Pat Lewis's claims. Lewis had once been known as Patricia Palmer, and before that had archived some movie star fame as Margaret Gibby Gibson. She had starred alongside William Desmond Taylor in 4 movies in 1914. By 1964, Lewis was a recluse living in a small house in the Hollywood Hills. When she suffered a heart attack, she demanded a priest and began confessing her sins, namely that, while a silent screen actress, she had shot and killed William Desmond Taylor. And she continued by saying that they nearly caught her and that she had to flee the country, wrote Raphael F. Long in a piece published by Taylorography, a newspaper dedicated to the murder. My cat is adorable. Bruce Long, author of William Desmond Taylor, a Dowser, hypothesized in the same newsletter that Desmond had, like Mary, fallen in love with William, untimely killing him in an "if I can't have him, no one can" frenzy. William J. Mann, author of Tinseltown, Murder, Morphine, and Madness at the Dawn of Hollywood, suggests that the actress was trying to blackmail Taylor over the family he had abandoned, and had recruited help from a local crime boss, Blackie Matson, and a known blackmailer, Don Osborne. Mann persists that one of these men, either that Gibson herself pulled the trigger in the movies, this compelling mystery would surely have a clear ending. However, it became clear long ago that the murder of William Desmond Taylor, while exciting numerous intriguing speculations, will never have a completely satisfying third act. The next one we'll be doing, that's in the same year, but in a different country. But I want you guys' thoughts on this murder that's remained unsolved from the 1920s. If anyone who is a descendant of William Desmond Taylor, or anyone who are true crime sleuths, could find out what happened. It would be nice to have this happy ending for this case. Literally.